If you've been around this channel for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about the idea of seeing, that great leaders are good at seeing, and I'll say things like they're good at seeing reality as it is. We like to say things like reality is a lot like the sun. It's very illuminating, but impossible to stare at. In today's video, I want to dig into that a little further and tell you some stories that might illuminate what I'm talking about. The key is to get started. A lot of us are looking for clarity. We want to understand what's going on. We want to be able to see really well. But what we're talking about is trying to see the future. We're trying to see forward. We're trying to see the present in its context, in a rich and full context. And I just think you don't get to have clarity. You don't get to have 100% 20/20 or better vision about things that are unfolding right in front of you or going to be unfolding in front of you. We say it clearly. Hindsight is 20/20. We only get clarity once it's done. Seeing, though, is a key attribute of people who are great leaders. People who can have great influence in a circumstance are the ones who are able to see the circumstance, see the context more clearly. And this was demonstrated to me just beautifully years ago over on the coast of the Pacific Ocean in Northern California. It's where I grew up. And there's a place over there that's a state park and it juts out into the ocean. And a bunch of my friends and I, when we were in our 20s, were standing out on this point together, staring out across the ocean. And so it's not uncommon for us to have friends that are part of the Coast Guard. And that day, that was the case. We had a guy with us and he was off and he was hanging out. We're just having a ball up there. And around the corner, all of a sudden, this big fishing vessel comes around and comes right into view, and it's a big one. It's unusually large, and it's pretty close in, so it's taking up the whole scene. As you stare out across the ocean, this ship, this boat, it's you can't miss it. And so someone noticed it first, and he goes, "Hey, look at that boat." And our friend who was in the Coast Guard, without missing a beat, simply says, "Which one?" Well, the rest of us are like, "What do you mean, which one? The big boat that just came around the corner, it's right there." So we kind of look over at him, we're like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "Well, there's 16 of them out there." We could only see one, but he starts pointing at them, and they're little, way out on the horizon, way over there. Some of them are actually a little closer, they're a little bigger, but they're still small compared to this big one. And he points them out to us, and one by one, as he pointed them out, we could see them too. But prior to that, no vision for that. We could only see what was obvious. But as a trained member of the Coast Guard, he had spent hours and hours and hours scanning the Pacific, looking to see if there was any ships out there. Those were the things that mattered to him. He needed to know where all the ships were all the time, and his eyes were trained to pick them up at a glance. He was capable of seeing more of reality as it was, and we could only see what was easy. Being around someone who has a trained eye for the human condition, for the human context, for the patterns of behavior, for opportunity and threats, that can recognize organizational structures, can recognize power dynamics, who can see humans that are suffering or hurting, that can read emotions. Being around somebody like that is incredible because they can see reality as it is better. And as a result of that, I think they make better leaders. There's 3 central reasons why I think an increased capacity to see reality as it is makes you a better leader. Number 1, I think you can see more opportunities. You're more attuned to the things in front of you where there could be a reward, or there could be a market to go after, there could be a product, or there could be a hire that you could make. I work with someone who is incredibly good at recognizing talent in people who have yet to find it themselves. And he routinely hires really high quality employees who become general managers of his businesses out of bad sales jobs or at a drive-through window. He'll routinely be served by these people and he'll recognize attributes in them that are just gold. And he offers them jobs and they come work for him. Many of them have become my clients, and in time I agree with him. These people are great, but he saw it first. People who can see reality as it is more clearly see opportunities. Number 2, people who can see better see threats. They recognize when something is about to go sideways long before it does. They're able to notice a threat coming up on them from a long ways away. It gives them time to prepare for it. They can navigate around them. To be able to see reality as it is to be able to see threats more clearly, which makes you a more agile, resilient leader. Some people are extraordinarily good at seeing threats, but the problem is they're not seeing reality as it is. They're seeing reality through the lens of threat and fear and anxiety. Great leaders can see opportunities and threats side by side, and they can navigate well because of that. And as a result, the third major advantage is I think they make better decisions. They make decisions at the right time in the right way. They can analyze what's going on and understand how to navigate the unknown in front of them. Now again, I don't think they see completely. I don't think they see clearly. I don't think they see to the point of safety and high degrees of confidence, but they see better. And that little bit of better can be an extraordinary, unfair competitive advantage in a fast-moving, innovative climate that we live in today. So let's go back to my example of the Coast Guard member who saw 16 boats when I could only see one. Which one of those two people would you rather have on the deck of a ship trying to keep the oceans safe? My friend, not me. In the same way, if you're a manager and you have learned how to see people in a particular way that has helped you become a better leader, but you're working with someone who is a director or a vice president, who has a capacity to see the world more clearly than you do, I'd recommend that you ask them a lot of questions about what they see. Let them be your guide into seeing 16 ships across the Pacific Ocean instead of just one.